come here with Winnie Bet. She was totally, uterus was totally removed in a level 6 hospital in Tenerife. And you don't expect somebody whose uterus has been removed to have a baby. So today we are just walking in to do the test that is going to ascertain Winnie is the mother to Emmanuel. After the result is out, that is going to give us the comparison that this is the true child of Winnie Bet.
My name is Victor Sewe. I work with the Kenya Medical Research Institute at its Center for Global Health Research in Kisumu, and I'm a medical laboratory scientist with over 3 years of experience. Now, the result, which is subject to discussion, which is here before us, is a maternity testing to determine that the alleged mother and the baby that was taken, that whose samples were taken for testing, does it mean really that the baby belongs to the mother or not? And as said by the quality manager, this is an evidence that can be tabled in court. So I want just to give a background of this test, that when you check on relatedness between two people, where you have an alleged mother and a child or a father, then we know that every person usually inherits half of their DNA from either of the parents. That could be the mother or the father, their biological parents. And by examining their DNA from the person and the parents, it is possible to determine the elements that were gained, that were inherited from the biological mother. And so in this case of Winnie Bet and Emmanuel Kipngetich, it's a maternity testing because we are trying to connect between the alleged mother and the child, that they are related and the child was born of the mother. And this is a test that was recently, these are results that were recently generated on 2nd of July 2020 from the government chemist laboratory. This is the date results were released by the government, and the conclusion of the government analyst is that based on the findings, there are 99.99 and above more chances that Winnie Bet, who is the alleged mother, is the biological mother to Emmanuel Kipngetich. And the seal of the government department is attached. So based on the findings from the government chemist, which is a reputable laboratory under the office of the president, the findings have come to a conclusion that over 99.99% are more chances that Winnie Bet, who is the alleged mother, is surely the biological mother. How do we come, or how did the laboratory come to that conclusion? So we know that the chromosomes that are usually of the mother are XX. So the mother has the chromosomes that are XX, and because she gave birth to a male child, who is Emmanuel, he is supposed to have XY that we have in this case. And so there are usually 15 gene loci, or the alleles that will always lead to a relationship, or rather the conclusion that the mother and the child are really one and the same thing. And we have 15. So when you check on this column, we have got D8S51179 as the first locus, and for the mother at XX from her chromosome, we have 14 and 16, and the baby who was given birth to has 12 and 14, and so the mother and the baby are sharing 14, and so on the shared alleles with Emmanuel from Winnie, we have 14, and their maternity index is 1.6129. If I pick the fourth locus, then we have CSFIPO, where the mother's chromosome XX has 1111, and the child, who is male at XY, has 1114. So therefore, the shared allele from the mother is 11. And when you check on this column where they are shared, we find that all the 15 shared loci, the male child inherited them. And so this is a clear evidence that for sure there cannot be any other mother who can claim Emmanuel Bet apart from Winnie Bet. And so when you check at the tail end of this result, we have the maternity index as high as 6.4 times 10 raised to power 7. This is a high maternity index that infers that for sure over 99%, that is 100%. And without any doubt, for sure, Winnie Bet is the biological mother of Emmanuel keeping a teach. And so if what I have come to understand is that this mother, her uterus was removed, been able to conceive, something that is not possible in layman's understanding or in ideal situation, then it really means that this is a miracle. And as a specialist, as a professional in this area, this really is the hand of God. There is no way in the published medical journals where we have read or where we have been taught in the research centers that a mother who does not have a uterus can end up giving birth to a child.
What I can say today is, and you can see even the title, this is the office of the president. So this is a legal matter. This is a legal document that is admissible in any court, of law. But this is not a simple and normal procedure done in ordinary laboratories. This is done in a forensic lab, and this lab is the lab that is synonymous with disputes. If there's any dispute about maternity cases, paternal cases, this is where there is supposed to be taken care of. And you can see this laboratory is under the office of the president, Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government. And that means this document therefore proves that Winnie Bet is the true biological mother to Emmanuel.
Daktari, today we are here in your facility, and the reason that brings us here today is that there is a case of Winnie Bet, and this lady, her uterus was completely removed, and she's from Sotik in the county of Bomet. And currently, as we are talking, Daktari, Winnie Bet conceived and right now has a baby. And so we are here that you may shed more light on this case, because we fail to understand if someone's womb was removed, the uterus was completely removed, and today she is having a child. How possible is this, Daktari?
I'm Dr. Beatrice Bonyo. I'm a gynecologist, obstetrician, and I'm working at Milimani Maternity Hospital. I have been a doctor for the past 36 years, and I specialized as an obstetrician gynecologist 28 years ago. So you have just asked, how possible is it to have someone whose uterus has been removed to get a baby? I also had, and then I saw some WhatsApp information about a woman who had the removal of the uterus. In fact, according to that document, even that the uterus was taken for histology to confirm that it was a uterus, and for sure it was a uterus. And the operation also, according to those records, was done by a very, very senior gynecologist at Tenwick Hospital. And this made me get interested, because I said I would like to know how comes this woman is pregnant. I followed up and found that serial ultrasounds were done in 2018, which confirmed that that pregnancy was intrauterine. And also, she delivered naturally. It was a shock, and we wondered whether it was really possible. And with this, further testing was also done to confirm whether she has that uterus, and still it confirmed that even after delivery, her uterus is there and is normal by CT scan and MRI, that she has a uterus. This is a shocking news in our medical field, because it has never happened. There is no record of somebody having, just naturally reconstructing a uterus. This must be doing of the Almighty. This is a miracle. It is a miracle that we, as the medical fraternity, are shocked to the core, because after we have done a hysterectomy, in most cases, the women have no hope we have nothing to offer them except to tell them to adopt children. But now there is hope. We can allow our women to seek the counsel of the Almighty, their Creator, who is able to make the removed uteruses, is able to transplant supernaturally, is able to give them another uterus, even if the one they initially had has been removed.
Bishop Justin Langat, the presiding bishop of Sotik region, the region from which Winnipeg and Emmanuel Kimugatich come, and I'm here to give you a testimony concerning this wonder that the Lord has deposited not just in Sotik, but in this nation of Kenya, and which has powerfully ministered to the entire world, to the professionals and to the non-professionals alike, to the lofty and to the lowly alike. We all remember that before Winnipeg met and encountered the very powerful voice of the mightiest prophets of the Lord, she went through a lot of suffering, and in that suffering it also brought a lot of turmoil to the marital life of Winnipeg and her husband Enoch. And this is what I want to share in brief, even as we glorify the Lord for this wonder. The time when Winnie had not even gone for operation in Tenwek Level 6 Hospital, she went through a lot of suffering. You remember, as she shared in quite a number of times in her testimonies, that at times she would be in the garden weeding her vegetables, and then the pain that she was experiencing in the rotting uterus would cause her to start uprooting the vegetables and throwing them away. She would start rolling around, rolling on the ground, feeling a lot of pain because of the suffering she was going through. At times also, Winnipeg at night would again be visited by these very strong pains that she would not sleep. And the husband had to get even a boda, a motorcycle from a neighbor, to rush her to hospital for help. Now, this kind of life truly started straining their marital relationship even back at home. It was because I glorify God that the time when Enoch Beth came home and be reunited with the wife, we were together and they both received the Lord afresh. And this is the beauty now of the ministry where we are in, which is the ministry of the Lord, where the Lord God has sent his two mightiest prophets, that each of us may live a life of repentance, a life that pleases God. Look at how now we are really celebrating the testimony of the new uterus that Winnipeg has, the functional uterus, which the surgeon, that very, very senior surgeon at the level of a professor from America, has testified that it is even better than the original one, testifying to the power and the authority that is in the anointing that the Lord has deposited in the mightiest prophets who are here navigating us and preparing us for eternity.
Kimawit village, we are visiting the Winnipeg, the healed of the Lord. She did not have a uterus. It was removed in Tenwek level 6 hospital, and upon the degree by the two most tremendous prophets of the Lord through the radio some years ago, the Lord healed her, and the Lord gave her a new uterus. She conceived, gave birth, and we are going to visit them, find out their progress report, how they are going on, and see also how the boy has been able to grow up. Makatia? Good boy. Nyun ba yogi. Nama go nek tuana. Nama go nek tua. Bas. Cima mai. Thank you so much, Winnibet and the husband. Thank you so much for allowing us to come and find the progress, report how you are going on. How has life been ever since the Lord blessed you with Emmanuel? How has life been? She says she thanks Jehovah so much because of the great wonder that he did in this family. She says that now we are very happy as a family as we go on very well. Having beholding this wonder, having been blessed by baby Emmanuel, Emmanuel, we are going on well. Emmanuel has been growing on very well in a very wonderful way. We have never had any problem because this is a wonder that the Lord deposited in us, and it has been going on very well. He says Emmanuel is now 2 years old and 2 years 8 months old. He says Emmanuel has been able to learn how to speak. He is almost now very stable in speaking the language that they learn here in the village. So he says we thank Jehovah so much for sending us his two most tremendous prophets, that through them we have a lot of joy and happiness as a family.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Enoch, the husband now, the father to Emmanuel, what can you say? How has life been? He says his name is Enoch Bet, the father to Emmanuel Kipmwetich. He is the husband to Winnibet. He says he thanks the Lord for giving him life. He thanks the Lord also for the Lord healing his wife Winnibet. He says he thanks the Lord and worships Jehovah for giving them baby Emmanuel. The Lord has helped them. They are now able to work in the family. He says they are now very stable. They have no problem as a family. They work very well in their farm. They get food very well because of the joy that they have. Remember, earlier on when this problem was there in this homestead, we heard from Winnie that time that they were not at peace because of the pressure from the family, rejection. And so the husband is saying now they are able to work together in the farm, get their food, live very well. He says they thank the Lord so much. He says he enjoys life so much. He says everything is well, enjoying when Emmanuel is growing up very well. He says whenever he arrives in the evening after going out there looking for to fend for the family, when he arrives home and then his boy now receives him in home, he finds him happy, it gives joy to him. He says they thank the Lord so much.
I saw a dream today in the morning. I want to share this dream. And in that dream, they stormed Nigeria. They invaded them, humiliated them, held them captive. There were so many people and the line was so long, huge line. The beast is devouring Nigeria. Everybody is watching. All over the world. That's what the Lord is saying here. In the book of Isaiah 35, Isaiah chapter 35, I am reading Isaiah 35, 8 and 9. He says, and a highway will be there. Again, and in some versions they say, and a highway shall be there. In other words, saying, when that time arrives, there will be a highway. You see that? And he says, and the highway will be there. It will be called the way of holiness. And say way, capital W, the way of holiness. The unclean will not journey on it. And he said, it will be for those who walk in that way, capital W, in that way. Meaning, those who walk in that lifestyle. Yes. The unclean will not be there in this highway. And then he says, wicked fools will not go about on it. And then he finishes by saying, verse 9, he says, no lion will be there, nor will any ferocious beast get upon it. They will not be found there, but only the redeemed shall walk there. The Lord is saying that the power unto man is in the highway. He says, even no ferocious beast shall come to devour you on the way. That is the true power of the Lord, right? Right? But I see in Nigeria, the ferocious beast and so I have come to ask you, on which way are you walking? Which highway is Nigeria following right now? In other words, is she really on the highway of the Lord? Because the other highway, the devourer is there. That is the way that Nigeria followed. And in that dream, they stormed Nigeria. They invaded them, humiliated them, held them captive. There were so many people and the line was so long, huge line. The beast is devouring Nigeria. Everybody is watching. All over the world. That's what the Lord is saying here.
April 14, 2014. On that day, we don't know anything. We are just hearing gunshots outside and we saw people coming in with soldiers' uniform.
They told us that they are military, they're here to protect us, and they call us to come and gather together. And they said that we should move on straight line out to the gates. And some of us said that they are not going. And they said that if you are not going, they will shoot you.
And they said that, okay, let's start burning the hostels. When I say, what? Burning the hostels, soldiers burning hostels. How is that possible? They said they are not soldiers, they are Boko Haram.
It was the failure of the state to have allowed those girls to stay one day in the den of the abductors. The moment Michelle Obama carried that placard, boom, everyone was talking about the Chibok girls.
Nigerians showing solidarity with the plight of the many Chibok girls still in captivity.
Hello and welcome to News Central Studios, reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Sulaiman Ahmed, and here are the top stories of this hour. Nigeria and the world remember abducted Chibok girls 7 years after. Well, it's been 7 years since over 200 schoolgirls were abducted from their school in Chibok, a town in northern Nigeria. The tale of the Chibok girls caught the attention of many across the world, and the hashtag #BringBackOurGirls went viral. News Central remembers the Chibok girls.
On the 9th of 14th April 2014, 276 mostly Christian female students were kidnapped by a terrorist group, Boko Haram, from the government secondary school in the town of Chibok in Borno State, Nigeria. In the months following the incident, 57 of the schoolgirls escaped, while others were rescued by the Nigerian military forces on several occasions. The kidnapping of the schoolgirls sparked an uproar in Nigeria, and the hashtag #BringBackOurGirls was born. The hashtag soon went viral, and major celebrities and world leaders soon began to identify with it. Between 2016 and now, at least 90 of the Chibok girls have either escaped or been rescued, while others remain in captivity.
Well, Wednesday, April 14th, will mark 7 years since the kidnap of 276 girls from government secondary school Chibok by Boko Haram insurgents. The attack sparked the hashtag #BringBackOurGirls, an international campaign embraced by then US First Lady Michelle Obama, and Chibok, a remote, little-known town before the happenings came to represent Nigeria's face of insecurity. 7 years later, there are still many questions left unanswered on the whereabouts of many of the girls remain unknown.
An estimated 20 Nigerian students are still missing after gunmen attacked the private Greenfield University in northern Kaduna yesterday evening, as communicated by a police official to the media on Wednesday.
The school management and security agencies on the ground inform Kaduna State government that a staff of the university was killed here, and some students were also kidnapped.
As some students might have fled the scene, authorities are unclear about how many have actually been abducted by the bandits. In the region, this has been the 5th school assault since December.
Turn to Kaduna State, where in recent times the state has been facing a series of attacks by bandits, including assaults on schools. And barely 3 days after gunmen invaded a private university, kidnapping an unspecified number of students, the story is no longer the same. Now, 3 students of the Greenfield University kidnapped recently have been killed by their abductors. Confirming the development, the Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, said the remains of the students were found on Friday in Kwanan Baturi village, a location close to the university, and have been evacuated to a mortuary by himself and the Force Commander, Operation Thunderstrike, Lieutenant Colonel Emich Abdullahi. Meanwhile, Governor Nasser El-Rufai has condemned the killing of the 3 students as sheer wickedness, inhumanity, and an outright desecration of human lives by vile entities.
Gunmen suspected to be kidnappers have abducted some students during an attack on a private university in Kaduna State on Tuesday night, April 20, 2021. Eyewitnesses said the gunmen stormed the university last night and started shooting sporadically before taking some of the students away.
Police in Nigeria have confirmed an attack by gunmen on a private university in northern Kaduna State, killing 1 staff member and kidnapping some students. Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security, Samuel Aruwan, confirmed that a staff member had been killed during the raid.
The school management and security agencies on the ground inform Kaduna State government that a staff of the university was killed here, and some students were also kidnapped.
These are aggrieved parents of the kidnapped students of Greenfield University in Kaduna State. The expressions on their faces is an indication that all isn't well. They are here to discuss ways of ensuring the rescue of their wards from captivity following Tuesday's abduction of 20 of them from the institution. In addition to the 20 students, 3 members of staff were also kidnapped, while another staff member was shot dead during the operation. However, there is a twist in the tale when the bodies of these 3 students were found on Friday, April the 23rd, at a village near the school. Mrs. Loretta Tahiru is a mother to one of the abducted students of the university, unable to keep her emotion in check. She describes the condition as devastating, especially as she was with him just hours before the incident.
He returned to the school on Tuesday, only for me to hear on Wednesday that my son has been kidnapped. It is a nightmare. I have not slept. I have not slept. I have not eaten. I'm appealing to the public to assist us. The demand is unbearable. The amount is unthinkable.
So as many of you already know, 3 of the students kidnapped last week at the Greenfield University in Kaduna State have been found dead. The bandits broke into the private university located along the Kaduna-Abuka Highway in Chicken local government area on April 20th. They were shooting sporadically before whisking away unspecified number of the students at the time.
This is the College of Engineering at the Federal University of Agriculture, Makurdi in Benue State. Activities here are on the downside following the abduction of 4 students of the college last Saturday night. This abandoned vehicle with registration number Kogi 254 KPA is said to belong to one of the kidnapped victims, who was forcefully taken away with 3 others when the gunmen stormed the campus, and it has remained there since then. Tried as we did, we could not get some of the students to comment on the matter, but this eyewitness gives an insight into how the incident played out.
We discovered a car was parked outside. The car was actually empty, so we realized they took 2 students from the car and other students which followed them, and they came and passed through the bush. They were able to go with about 5 persons thereabout, but we cannot say specifically. But one of the students is from engineering and is a well-known person.
The militants fired rocket-propelled grenades before overpowering the army convoy. The fighters from the Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP had staged an ambush at Mainok, just outside Borno's regional capital Maiduguri. Military sources put the death toll at 31. The militants later overran a nearby base, partially burning it down. They seized weapons and 2 personnel carriers in the attack. The attack was the deadliest this year against Nigeria's army, which has been battling a decade-long insurgency. The convoy was transporting weapons to Maiduguri when it came under attack. ISWAP split from mainstream Boko Haram faction in 2016 and rose to become a dominant force in Nigeria's northeast.
Jihadists kill 31 soldiers in northeast Nigeria. At least 31 Nigerian soldiers were killed when aligned.
There is a twist in the tale when the bodies of these 3 students were found on Friday, April the 23rd at a village near the school. Mrs. Loretta Tahiru is a mother to one of the abducted students of the university, unable to keep her emotion in check. She describes the condition as devastating, especially
victims, who was forcefully taken away with 3 others when the gunmen stormed the campus.
Which followed them and they came and passed through the bush. They were able to go with about 5 persons thereabout, but we cannot say specifically. But one of the students is from engineering and is a well-known person.
The militants fired rocket-propelled grenades before overpowering the army convoy. The fighters from the Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP had staged an ambush at Mainok, just outside Borno's regional capital Maiduguri. Military sources put the death toll at 31. The militants later overran a nearby base, partially burning it down. They seized weapons and 2 personnel carriers in the attack. The attack was the deadliest this year against Nigeria's army, which has been battling a decade-long insurgency. The convoy was transporting weapons to Maiduguri when it came under attack. ISWAP split from mainstream Boko Haram faction in 2016 and rose to become a dominant force in Nigeria's northeast.
Jihadists kill 31 soldiers in northeast Nigeria. At least 31 Nigerian soldiers were killed when aligned jihadists ambushed a military convoy escorting weapons and overran a base in northeast Nigeria's Borno state, military sources said on Monday. Fighters from the Islamic State West Africa province, ISWAP, attacked the convoy with rocket-propelled grenades on Sunday in the town of Mainok outside the regional capital Maiduguri before storming. We lost 31 soldiers, including their commander who was a lieutenant colonel, in the ambush by the terrorists, a military officer said about the attack which happened around 1100 GMT.
Jehovah. You are my one and only friend. Jehovah Elohim. Jehovah Eloheinu. Look, I have no other friend except you, Jehovah. Father, you can begin this mighty meeting by releasing your fire to touch the ashes. Fire, 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 fire.
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. The Lord took me into a hospital in Asia. There's a very big distress there. You see a lot of people swarming into the hospital. I see the lack of equipment. Now there's no equipment. The doctors are running up and down and many people flooding into the hospital. The Lord took me to Asia and I see a lot of people rushing into the hospital, being rushed. There's the procedure being done on somebody. And then there is testing. So somebody told me, well, he makes one of the doctors there to speak with me, and he says, we don't have equipment. What we do, we take this, and they will take a little and put on the culture to see. So there is going to be a big distress that is going to come into Asia, a big disease. Distress of disease is coming. There will be a disease emergency in Asia. That distress will be like none other, a distress that has not been seen. This kind of distress, like God has shown me just a few minutes ago when he took me to Asia, will develop on this earth, will throb on this planet Earth, will throb on this planet Earth. The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India. The Lord took me into a hospital in India. There's a very big distress there.
This is an ABC News.
But perhaps there is no nation on earth with a bigger crisis than India. They are on track to overtake the U.S. as the nation with the most cases worldwide.
Dancing Khan used to speed through India's capital to save the living. Today, the medic races to collect the dead, weaving through Delhi's clogged streets, bodies swathed in white, ready for cremation, in a race to slow the spread of a disease coursing through India's veins. It now has the world's fastest growing rate of infection and death. Today, 2 more COVID-19 casualties are added to the more than 100,000 deaths. And more heartbroken families must mourn and grieve and bid farewell to their loved ones. This is what passes for an ordinary day as India gets hit by a second wave far more vicious than the first, preying on the most vulnerable. Today, Mohsin had to pick up the body of a 3-year-old girl.
My heart breaks. I have seen so many bodies.
It's beyond his remit. It's the grimmest of jobs, exacting a terrible toll. The bodies keep piling up. India seeing nearly 2.5 million new cases just this past month. We were in a New Delhi hospital this past June. Doctors in full PPE. Patients hooked up to ventilators.
These are the sickest of the lot.
The beeping in ICU wards, the soundtrack to a crisis steadily getting worse.
He's not waking up.
India's cases were starting to climb.
This situation is unlike anything which we have seen ever before. We are really struggling and we are trying that we can deliver our best. But yes, it's really tough.
The situation wearing on the doctors. Today, medical professionals in the country are sounding the alarm. India is now second only to the United States in having the most COVID cases, topping 5 million.
In most of the big cities, we are reaching a saturation point where most of the hospitals are choked to capacity. There is a scarcity of ventilators.
Maharashtra, being the worst hit state in the country, has crossed the 1 lakh mark. And Mumbai, capital of Maharashtra, remains worst hit. 99% ICU beds are occupied. Government officials said hospitals have been instructed to strictly adhere to admission and discharge guidelines and only admit severely symptomatic patients to allow beds for critical patients. India has become the second worst hit country by the coronavirus pandemic in the world. With the official data released by the Indian Health Ministry, the country has surpassed Brazil in total number of COVID-19 infections. The country has also recorded its highest COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours. This is also the highest one-day surge recorded anywhere in the world. 90,800 people have been tested positive for the lethal virus in the last 24 hours. The death toll climbed to over 71,600 after more than 1,000 people lost their lives to COVID-19.
With a record 90,802 new confirmed cases Monday, India has now surpassed Brazil. It stands as the second worst affected country in the world. Some 4.2 million people now have coronavirus in India.
Health authorities in India say the country has now exceeded 4 million coronavirus cases. Nearly 2 million new infections were recorded last month alone. India has the third highest total worldwide, behind the U.S. and Brazil.
India has become the third country in the world that has 4 million coronavirus infections.
Now, India, one of the worst coronavirus hit countries in the world, has crossed the grim 4 million mark in terms of COVID cases.
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India. I see the Lord took me into a hospital in India. There's a very big distress there.
After lapses at Cooper Hospital and Nair Hospital, now another hospital run by the civic body BMC is in the news for all the wrong reasons. A video from a hospital in Sion has gone viral on social media. What it shows is how COVID patients are being treated in the same ward where lying only few inches away from them are dead bodies. Yes, these are dead corpses on the bed. Even as nurses are walking up and down past these corpses, the ward checking up on COVID patients.
A shocker from Mumbai.
A video posted on Twitter by BJP MLA Nitesh Rane shows coronavirus patients in a hospital ward lying next to corpses wrapped in body bags. This horrifying clip is from Sion Hospital, which is run by the city's municipal corporation. At least 7 bodies are seen in the ward as patients are being treated in adjoining beds. Some patients have family members attending to them, apparently ignoring bodies right behind them.
Wards. Multiple patients sharing a single bed. Bodies lying in wards packed with patients. Wards used as morgue to store bodies. Mumbai's Sion Hospital's emergency wards are bursting at their seam with these horrifying images. Equally shocking video has come to light from another BMC-run KEM hospital in Mumbai's Parel area. Wards of the KEM hospital is packed with patients and their relatives. Patients and their kin lying on the floor as no bed is available. Many are without masks, ignoring any semblance of social distancing.
The capacity of the mortuary is 45 dead bodies at LNJP, but with the increase in COVID-19 deaths, the mortuary was not able to handle the situation. In 1 week, 108 dead bodies were in LNJP, clammed one over the other. Let's go across to Sherin, who's joining us with more details. Well, till this point in time, we've played out visuals coming in from Mumbai and the apathy, as far as the handling of the dead bodies is concerned. But now these visuals coming in from LNJP is shocking. Some dead bodies, we're being told, were thrown in the passage?
Well, that is right. The visuals are shocking to say the least, because the capacity of the LNJP mortuary is only 45 dead bodies at a time. But we are seeing that there were, in fact, in last 1 week, there were more than 100 dead bodies that were at the mortuary, and because of which, one after the other, it was getting difficult for the LNJP mortuary, for the authorities to deal with the situation. Now we know that there was, in fact, a number of, on one rack itself, there were 2 bodies that were kept, and there were around 28 bodies that was thrown at the passage, because there was no space at all to keep these bodies at the rack. There were few bodies that were around 80 of them were kept on the rack, because there are around 40 racks are there. So in each rack, Swati, there were 2 dead bodies. Accordingly, there were 80 dead bodies that were kept there, and the other, the rest of them were in fact left on the passage.
In a disturbing video that emerged on Tuesday, 8 bodies of coronavirus victims were wrapped in plastic and dumped into a common pit in Karnataka's Ballari district. Officials, while maintaining that the bodies were wrapped in plastic as per rules, said that the inhumane treatment will be probed. Chief Minister B.S. Yedurappa termed the behavior of the staff inhuman and painful.
The disturbing visuals that have gone viral on social media. You can see shots on our screens at the moment of a group of men in hazmat suits dumping body bags into a huge pit. What really is going on?
Well, the DC of Ballari, S.S. Nakul, has confirmed that this, in fact, was the burial of 8 people who had died of COVID-19. Now, of course, very distressing, because many times family members cannot access the bodies of those who have died and cannot perform the funeral rites as per their wishes. But the DC confirming this was, in fact, disrespectful, as he put it, something he deeply regrets, the disrespectful handling of the bodies. This video has been widely shared, actually, and of course it's given a chance to the opposition in the state. The Janata Dal Secular, the Congress's D.K. Shivkumar have tweeted criticizing the BJP government's handling of the entire COVID situation, using this as an example, in fact. The deeply distressing visuals, really. The remains of 8 people who died of COVID in Ballari district in Karnataka being tossed into a pit. The field team.
In a shocking case, a COVID victim has been abandoned outside a hospital in Bhopal on Monday night. It isn't clear from these visuals whether the patient was dead or alive at the time that he was abandoned. A Discom employee, he had been admitted with a kidney ailment. He then developed breathing trouble and was suspected to have pneumonia. He was diagnosed with corona on Monday evening. The hospital administration, it seems, was keen to shift him to a dedicated COVID facility.
After he took a turn for the worse, the ambulance driver allegedly abandoned him outside the hospital on a pavement, a magisterial.
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India. The Lord took me into a hospital in India. There's a very big distress there. The doctors are running up and down and many people flooding into the hospital.
A capital on its knees.
Consecutive day, India has set a global record for daily infections and deaths. But health experts believe the real numbers could be much higher.
There is no space. So a patient who needs an ICU comes to the casualty, right? What do I do?
For every 200 patients, only one doctor was available.
So many like her are putting in all they can.
So we are struggling.
He's desperately trying to get more oxygen.
पेशेंट यहाँ पे नीचे लेके लेटा हुआ है, कचरा वहाँ पे पड़ा हुआ है सामने।
ये डेड बॉडी कल शाम से यहाँ
बड़े भाई थे 38 साल के थे, रिकवर हो गए थे, ऑक्सीजन पे थे। मेरे सामने तड़प के ऑक्सीजन की मशीन बंद हो गई, कुछ नहीं आ रहा था, मेरे सामने तड़प के खत्म हुए।
डॉक्टर चिल्लाते रह गए, कोई डॉक्टर नहीं आया, कोई डॉक्टर नहीं आया, कोई डॉक्टर नहीं आया, क्या करें?
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India.
As India reports over 300,000 new cases of COVID-19 a day, hospitals are being forced to turn away the sick and dying.
This is a CBS News special report.
Critically ill COVID patients fade away while they wait, sometimes dying before they even reach the door.
Balaji!
The sister of Balaji Kurappa tried to keep him conscious, but in vain. A father of two, he didn't make it. Ambulances arrive at the emergency doors only to be turned away because there are no beds, unless it's already too late. Inside, doctors and nurses triage patients, prioritizing the very sick and the even sicker. Currently, India accounts for nearly half the new COVID cases on Earth every day. The waiting room at the Guru Tegh Bahadur Public Hospital is a sea of desperation, crammed with people defying Delhi's strict lockdown to seek help.
A hospital in the western city of Bhavnagar. These are COVID patients and there are no doctors to look at them, says the man filming the video. In Pune, the worst affected city in India, people are being given oxygen outside a hospital because it's too full. Patients are struggling to get medical care as India is in the grips of a fierce second wave of COVID-19. Field hospitals built last year to add to existing facilities are already full.
As India struggles with a catastrophic second wave, heartbreaking scenes playing out outside hospitals in the national capital. The tragic human face of the COVID crisis, visible in the folded hands, desperate cries for help, and the heart-wrenching screams when all is lost. 35-year-old Jyoti Chauhan died, waiting outside Gangaram Hospital's casualty ward. The family said they had been searching for a bed since 6 a.m. and they had to face rejection from 15 hospitals before the 35-year-old passed away. Meanwhile, another female patient with low oxygen passed away after she was brought to the GTP hospital. With people pleading hospital staff to provide their loved ones with oxygen masks. India's healthcare system is under severe stress, with many prominent hospitals reporting severe shortage of oxygen and even beds. The situation looks grim, to say the least.
Capital on its knees. Many of these people won't survive the night. Sir, for 1 minute, come and look at my mother, a man pleads. A doctor follows him to the ambulance and prepares to say the words he's had to say over and over again in the past day alone. She's no more. Her family, among hundreds in India, denied even the chance of saving a loved one. COVID-19 has hit this country with a ferocity not seen before.
We are definitely overburdened. We are already working at the full capacity, rather double of the capacity. Our initial ICU beds were less, but now we have increased just double the number of ICU beds. Initially it was only 54 ICU beds. Now we have 300 plus ICU beds.
बड़े भाई थे 38 साल के थे, रिकवर हो गए थे, ऑक्सीजन पे थे, मेरे सामने तड़प के ऑक्सीजन की मशीन बंद हो गई, कुछ नहीं आ रहा था, मेरे सामने तड़प के खत्म हुए.
कोरोना बॉडीज
जो गाड़ी में लगा उसको यूज कर लो ना यार. योगेश ले लो.
बस देते हैं दोनों को जोड़ के इसमें डाल.
Year-old Vishwaroop Sharma believes he is living in hell. 3 days ago, he drove his critically ill father, who contracted COVID, to a Delhi hospital and pleaded for help. With no beds, no oxygen, they were forced to wait outside.
He was saying that I won't be able to breathe. I need something. I need more medicines, but nothing is provided to him, and he died in front of me on my.
As you can see, to put another trolley, what do? We can only do that much.
NDTV 24/7.
The situation is so bad, as we saw in that hospital authorities begging for oxygen. This CEO of one small hospital in Delhi actually breaks down, saying, what can we do? Patients will die.
We probably, you see, we as a doctor, we as a hospital, we are supposed to give life. If we cannot give them oxygen even, what is the situation? When patient comes to, the patient will die. Patient will die. They are trying to help, but there is no oxygen, sir. There is no oxygen. We know this.
In India, the reaction to the pandemic is now turning to anger. Recently in Delhi, a group of people turned on medics and security guards at a hospital after they discovered a 67-year-old relative was denied an ICU bed and instead died in a hospital waiting room. Similar scenes are playing out across the country. There's been anger south of Delhi when people have turned up at a hospital only to discover their relatives have died because there is not enough oxygen. Doctors say they don't have oxygen, they don't have beds, and they don't have medicines.
The situation in India is beyond heartbreaking.
The incidence was almost vertical if you looked at that epi curve.
Kind of distress, like God has shown me just a few minutes ago when He took me to Asia, will develop on this earth, will throb on this planet Earth, will throb on this planet Earth. The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India. The Lord took me into a hospital in India. There's a very big distress there.
It's mutating, and it could throw off other variant strains.
ये दूसरा दौर जो आया है कोरोना का, ये लगभग 5 या 6 तारीख से शुरू हो गया अप्रैल की, और पहले जैसे पहले दिन 4 बॉडी आया, 5 आया, 10 आया करते करते मैक्सिमम जो हमारा परसों गया था 122 गया था। स्पॉट था, लेकिन जब ये भर गया इधर, फिर ये भी भर गया, हमारा ये 46 भर गया, तो ज़मीन पे किया, तो मैंने कमिश्नर साहब को रिक्वेस्ट किया EDMC, तो उन्होंने बोला ठीक है हम बना देते हैं। 10 बनाया, फिर 20 बनाया, फिर 40 बनाया, अभी 100 का अरेंजमेंट है हमारे पास। अभी इससे ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएगा तो किधर करेगा, रोड पे ही करेगा और कहाँ करेगा। उससे हमारा दिल बहुत टूट जाता है, हमारी आंखों में पानी आ जाता है, और मुझे लगता है कि यार दिल्ली में क्या हो रहा है, क्या हो रहा है दिल्ली के अंदर। तो सोच भी नहीं सकता था कि इतना भयानक मंजर आएगा।
There probably is no more graphic an illustration of just how bad the coronavirus crisis is hitting India than this. This is a makeshift crematorium. It's actually not meant to exist. This has been set up by the residents around here who cannot cope with the number of dead. Behind me are all the funeral pyres that represent a mother, a father, a daughter, a son, an uncle, a loved one to someone, a friend to someone. Each one of those fires is a coronavirus death, and we have been watching in just the last few minutes alone. They've been coming in virtually every second. They simply can't cope. And this is not one of the official funeral sites. This is an ad hoc one. One they're bringing in the wood as we wait to prepare for yet more casualties coming in.
48 साल अवस्था हो गई, लाइफ में ऐसा दृश्य भयावह हमने कभी नहीं देखा है।
सोचा भी नहीं था कि एक साथ 20-22 डेड बॉडी जल रही हैं, 15-20 लाइन में हैं, जो कि इसके बाद 10-15 ठो आपके जो इसमें लगी हुई हैं इलेक्ट्रिक वाले पे।
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India. The Lord took me into a hospital in India. There's a very big distress there. The doctors are running up and down and many people flooding into the hospital.
जो कि इसके बाद 10-15 ठो आपके जो इसमें लगी हुई हैं इलेक्ट्रिक वाले पे।
हम लोग भी 5-6 घंटे पहले हम लोग आते थे तो मैक्सिमम या उसको कम से कम कहिए या ज़्यादा कहिए तो 10 से 15 मिनट ही लगता था। लकड़ियाँ इकट्ठी हो जाती थी और लाशों को लगा दिया जाता था, तो जलने में जितना।
Mass cremations begin in India as coronavirus deaths in the capital of New Delhi soar. If this continues, they say they would have no other choice but to cremate bodies on the road.
There are too many dead to cope with right now in parts of the Indian capital, and they're piled up in vehicles outside. It's massively distressing and hugely undignified. They're working all hours inside. They just can't stop. And it's been like this for the last 2 weeks, all day and all night. The bodies just keep on coming. Whilst we were there, bodies were being brought in every few minutes. There's no room left inside the crematorium, so they've spilled out into the open ground next door.
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India.
It's hard.
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India. The Lord took me into a hospital in India. There's a very big distress there. The doctors are running up and down and many people flooding into the hospital.
Oxygen for COVID.
Coronavirus crisis.
Well, India is reporting its biggest daily surge in coronavirus cases since the pandemic began, crossing the 100,000 mark.
India has woken up to yet another peak in cases, the highest ever since the beginning of the pandemic reported in one single day.
The coronavirus crisis worsened in India as the nation reported more than 352,000 cases in the last 24 hours, with more than 2,800 deaths. This is the fifth consecutive day when India has reported more than 300,000 cases in a single day. India has recorded more than 2,000 deaths for the past 6 days in a row, now nearing 3,000.
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India.
Well, the actual number of COVID-19 deaths.
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India. The Lord took me into a hospital in India. There's a very big distress there. The doctors are running up and down and many people flooding into the hospital.
Strains that have
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India.
As the record surge in coronavirus cases, there might be another thing to worry about. A double mutant strain of COVID, which some believe is one of the reasons for the exponential surge in cases in India.
The Indian variant called B1617 has two key mutations in its spike protein. The first is called L452R, which is also found in a variant circulating in California, although the Indian virus has evolved independently. The second is called E484Q, a completely new mutation. Lab tests suggest both help the virus infect cells and evade antibodies. And while it's still unknown what real-world effect that would have on vaccines, the combination gives it the hallmark of a dangerous virus.
Emerged. The triple mutation variant in India has become a big cause of concern. It has been found in at least 3 states across the country, and this has got scientists quite worried here in India.
The India double mutation is a cause of concern, and now more and more evidence saying that it is likely to be something that has triggered this massive second wave in the country. And while we are still struggling with that, emerges the triple mutation. What is the triple mutation? Well, simply put, it refers to variants which have 3 different strains that have combined together to form a new variant. 1, how infectious is it? Second, how deadly is it? And third, is it resistant to antibodies? Meaning, will vaccines work against these mutations? So far, there are no clear answers really, and that's the sad part when it comes to these pertinent questions, because India simply does not genome sequence enough to prepare a database. But 2 out of these 3 mutations in this variant are known to confer immune escape, making this not work against either acquired antibodies or the vaccine antibodies, which is a reason to worry.
Some big news coming in. India now on the red list to many countries. Indian flights now, passenger flights been banned into Canada. Canada now bans passenger flights from India for 30 days amid rising COVID-19 cases. In fact, the concerns there over rising cases in India about mutation, the mutant variants of the virus in India has led to many countries now, including Canada, to ban passenger flights from India for the next 30 days.
The UK closes its doors to travellers from India as hospitals there run out of oxygen and infection rates hit levels unseen anywhere so far in the pandemic.
Little did we imagine that the once worst hit country of COVID-19, the United States, would send out an advisory to its citizens.
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. He took me to India. The Lord took me into a hospital in India. There's a very big distress there. The doctors are running up and down and many people flooding into the hospital.
List suspending entry of travellers from India. Let's start with Hong Kong. Hong Kong has now activated the emergency circuit breaker, which bans all passenger flights coming from India for 14-day period starting from April 20th. New Zealand also, earlier this month, has suspended entry of all passengers travelling from India. United Kingdom too has now put India on the travel red list. UAE has now banned all flights from India for the next 10 days starting April 25th. Canada too has now suspended all commercial and private passenger flights from India for the next 30 days starting April 22nd. India accounts for at least 20% of air travel into Canada, and Canadian officials now say a high number of passengers coming from India have now tested positive of COVID-19. This ban will, however, not apply to cargo flights to ensure smooth shipment of vaccines and other medical equipment. Now, the reason to why several countries are now drawing the line against travellers coming in from India is because internal surveys by the United Kingdom itself shows and suggests that at least 103 mutated variants of the COVID-19 has been found in India. The several mutated strains of COVID-19 cases found in India has raised serious concerns for people across the globe. The sheer numbers of active cases in India itself has deterred several countries from allowing its citizens to travel into India and vice versa. The United States Center for Disease Control itself has strictly advised its citizens against traveling into India.
So this red listing, and they do put it colorfully, has taken effect as of today, and the order is indefinite. It's likely to stay until matters in India get a good deal better and stay that way for a considerable period.
Meanwhile, in Brazil, nearly about 4,195 Brazilians are said to have lost their lives due to the COVID-19 infection in the last 24 hours. And this is the highest single-day death toll that has been reported from Brazil. And the surge has come as the more contagious variant of COVID-19 infection is wreaking havoc across the South American nation. Now, the country's total death toll is now said to be a staggering 337,000, second only to the United States of America. The situation across Brazil is very grim, and the healthcare system has pretty much all but collapsed.
Saudi Arabia Tuesday banned arrivals from 20 countries, including India and the United States, in an effort to contain the spread of the deadly coronavirus. It does include Saudi Arabia's neighboring nations, Egypt and the United Arab Emirates. The ban also included Lebanon, Turkey, Ireland, Italy, Portugal, Sweden and Switzerland. Apart from the US and India, travelers from Argentina, Brazil, Indonesia, Pakistan and South Africa have also been barred from entering the country. The temporary ban will also apply to travelers who passed through the 20 banned countries during the 14 days preceding the implementation of the ban, Saudi Arab's Interior Ministry said. At present, Saudi Arabia is reporting over 3.68 lakh COVID-19 cases and 6,383 deaths, according to the data obtained by Johns Hopkins University.
Just give us a little bit of perspective on why the Saudi government took this decision to suspend flights.
As you know, that these news about the new strain that is unfolding in UK and several other countries, including European countries and Australia, is really worrying and alarming, especially that the early indications is saying that it is more transmissible and it is accumulation of multiple mutations in critical regions of the viral genome. So until we have more information, the government of Saudi Arabia chose to take the most stringent measures to reduce the chances of importation of this strain into Saudi Arabia.
Ametoka
with a storm
akiwa na dhoruba
to strike the earth
kuigonga dunia
for their iniquity,
kwa ajili ya udhalimu wao,
for their sin,
kwa ajili ya dhambi yao,
for their blackmail,
kwa ajili ya
for their blasphemy,
kwa ajili ya makufuru yao,
abomination, immorality,
usherati.
Hallelujah,
hallelujah,
kutawaka on that day.
Katika siku hiyo,
I see difficult days ahead of you.
Naona siku zenye utata mwingi mbele zenu.
Come out.
Bwana ametoka
with a storm
akiwa na dhoruba
to strike the earth
kuigonga dunia
for their iniquity,
kwa ajili ya udhalimu wao,
for their sin,
kwa ajili ya dhambi yao,
for their blackmail,
kwa ajili ya
for their blasphemy,
kwa ajili ya makufuru yao,
abomination, immorality,
usherati.
Hallelujah,
hallelujah,
kutawaka on that day.
Katika siku hiyo,
I see difficult days ahead of you.
Naona siku zenye utata mwingi mbele zenu.
The cloud of God is coming from heaven,
to visit the earth. So this appertains to New Zealand, the United States of America, Europe, everywhere. It's coming to earth. The cloud of God is coming. The cloud of God is coming. Europe, Finland, Spain, United States, South America, Concepcion, Chile, all the way to Brisbane, Canberra, to Gisborne, New Zealand, the end of the earth, South Korea, Incheon, Boryong, Busan, Beijing, Shanghai, Fushan. The Lord is coming to town. And yet the Lord is so patient. He gives you time, blessed people, between the announcement today and then, that you may not be afflicted by his coming.
The women at the corner come out. These women have come from Kibarua. Close your eyes, the women from the shamba. Na mubebe mikono zenu zote juu. Mighty Father, you are the Father of Naivasha. You are the Father of these precious women who have been working the whole day in the field. So mighty Holy Spirit, I welcome you to visit this field and visit these women and touch, 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 touch. Touch them all. Touch. Lift up your hands very high. Levante su mano bien, muy alto. The fire of the Lord is going to fall here. El fuego del Señor va a caer aquí. Close your eyes, worship Him. Cierren sus ojos, equipo de adoración. Mighty Father, poderoso Padre, now you can clean up the worship team. Ahora pueden limpiar el equipo de adoración. Let your fire fall on this altar. Que tu fuego caiga sobre este altar. Over there now. Touch, 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 touch. Mighty Father, Padre poderoso. Now I ask you to bring your fire. Ahora yo te pido que traiga tu fuego. Very great fire. Un fuego bien grande. And touch the dancers. Y toca a los bailadores. And touch. Y toca. Levanta sus manos muy alto. Beginning with the men towards the women. Comenzando con los hombres hacia las mujeres. Father now. Padre ahora. As you remove disease from the field. Al quitar la enfermedad del campo. You can visit the worship team. Tú puedes visitar el equipo de adoración. From my right hand side. Desde mi mano derecha. Beginning with the men. Comenzando con los hombres. Let the fire of Jehovah. Deja que el fuego de Jehová. Fall on the worship. Caiga sobre la adoración. Over there. Hacia allá. And touch. Don't touch.
Almighty Father, Baba Mkuu, now you can breathe on them.
The Lord has spoken to me again right now. The Lord took me into a hospital in Asia. There's a very big distress there. You see a lot of people swarming into the hospital. I see the lack of equipment now. There is no equipment. The doctors are running up and down, and many people flooding into the hospital. The Lord took me to Asia, and I see a lot of people rushing into the hospital, being rushed. There's the procedure being done on somebody, and then there is testing. So somebody told me, well, he makes one of the doctors there to speak with me, and he says, we don't have equipment. What we do, we take this, and they take a little and put and culture.